Thresh banned away by Jin Air. Seen a lot of Thresh bans here on the blue side.
Thresh is a really interesting one when it comes to bans because he's so strong in laning phase. Before all the wards go down, before the map is bereft of turrets, Thresh I think is super powerful. In the late game, he really doesn't do very much given that he can't initiate alone and largely relies on map control and macro plays. So it's just an anti-snowball measure, I would say, from the side of Jin Air to slow down the pace, and one of the most played champions by Ella. This is the ban that we've seen the most originality. Is the final ban on red side, where Kallista's been banned a bit less recently. But Kallista would make sense against Teddy, and teams are just prioritizing the Elise first pick over the Kallista first pick.
This has to be Kallista. Yeah, there we go. All right. Didn't take too much time to figure that one out.
I mean, Teddy is a wonderful Kallista player, but Tristana is available for duel if he wants to go there. His Trist has not been as impressive as some other Tristanas, but the matchup is a powerful one. It could be something like Alistar Tristana actually taken on the red side.
Have we seen Tristana? I don't think we've seen Tristana from duel so far, actually.
Seen a bit. I actually watched one of his replays in solo queue, and he looked decent on it, but
hasn't brought it out in LCK yet.
One of the ones that was the most surprising when it came to weakness was Ruler had a really bad series on Tristana, a couple back, but got a bit better subsequently. You have to think that Tristana will come out. It's just the best toe-to-toe champion with the Kallista. And yeah, it is
with my favorite as well.
The Season 1 special. I remember watching professional games of Chaos and Special playing Tristana Alistar way back when. And it's still good now, which is fun to see.
Name that's not heard in quite some time.
He was streaming the other week.
He's getting ready to play in the special event they're having, the NA versus EU Legends returning thing in Hong Kong.
Yellow Pete's there as well, I believe. Some other legends. I know Peke was tweeting about it. That was all put together by Dexter, I believe.
I think he just got married recently, Yellow Pete.
Yes, he did. Dexter, a friend of the OGN cast, was actually on the analyst desk for the Season 4 Summer Final. KT rolls to Arrow's final against Samsung Blue. So going back to the draft here, Morgana taken early for the side of Jin Air is interesting. I really like Morgana as a last pick support on the red side, or taken late in rotation, because she counters the tank meta in some ways, just because tanks have a lot of CC and low burst magic damage, so you don't get a lot of ability power on Morgana support. You put down the Black Shield level 5, and the tanks don't have enough damage to actually burst through it, and you really are CC immune for a long time. When you draft it earlier, you can just load up a bit more magic damage. For example, the Orianna, maybe even a secondary magic damage dealer, and then suddenly the Black Shield has lower value. So a bit surprised to see it taken so early. I guess a chance that it's going to be a lane Morgana, but most likely going to be duo.
Orianna going to be the final lock-in here for Ever8 as we move into the next phase. So LeBlanc will be banned away yet again. Just don't want Kuzan over onto that pick. Corki is available, so do we see that banned away by Ever8? Or do they leave it available for Kuzan yet again? Because I think that he would be perfectly happy to go ahead and pick that up for the 6th time this split.
So interesting, intriguing question. The LeBlanc ban makes a lot of sense. The Corki ban follows logic, but I don't feel that the Corki was in any way the reason that they were able to pick up a victory in Game 1. They're interestingly going to ban Rumble, of all things, against Jin Air. So1 plays a decent Rumble for not being one of the gods of Rumble we have in Korea, but seeing it banned in this scenario makes you start to wonder. But what we'll see from the top lane, Maokai is still available, the side of Ever8, but that would mean a Trundle possibility from So1. So maybe they'll just last pick their tank on the red side, or maybe we'll see Keen go to carries. A lot of potential ramifications of the Rumble ban.
Yet again, the J4. This time not going to be playable. We'll see it highlighted as it gets banned away here by Jin Air, so don't want Malrong or Keen to be able to pick that up. And yet again, Jace has made it down to the bottom of the draft. So we could see this come through perhaps from either side. Malrong here looking for a jungler so they can get that last pick in onto the top lane, hovers over the Kha'Zix, and will just lock it in.
Now we have seen him play Kha'Zix on 714, and you'll remember, Kilios, that it was the R-Evolve first Kha'Zix, taking advantage of all the Dusk Blade changes and the ability to pull off some innovative ganks out of Brush. Now, evaluating how strong R-Evolve Kha'Zix is actually something I still struggle to do, but it is really cool. So I can appreciate that, and it does have some nuance that teams aren't necessarily as practiced in facing. Rek'Sai will spot him, though, even through the invisibility, so that interaction will be interesting to track. And the Corki comes in, and you were asking for a Jace. Might just be on blue side.
All right. Would be for the top lane here. Corki locked in yet again for Kuzan. They will lock up the Jace as well. So finally, made it through the first draft. Didn't see it at all. We see it here in
Maokai
game
would
number
be
2.
really powerful, but potentially just like game 1, you could get snowballed on if you can't have a better early game. So you could understand wanting a Maokai here, but maybe they feel like they have to take a fighter to be able to fight back against the Jace and have something a bit more of a chance to fight on its own, a different win condition than just late game team fighting. They will go for the Camille. And my quandary with working this out, because judging whether it's the right pick, is that for Keen it's the right pick. He is a carry top lane player. His teleports let him down, but if they had gone for a more of a role player tank, like for example the Maokai, then the Kha'Zix could jungle around bot lane. You could take advantage of Tristana pressure. That's when we've seen Tristana's deal best. Now the Kha'Zix, who already is a situational ganker at best, doesn't necessarily have a obvious lane to gank. He wants to try and help the Camille get ahead because it is melee versus ranged, and it could all fall apart. So extra balls thrown in the air. The juggling act for Ever8 is more tricky, but it does fit their core style better. So we'll wait to see what that actually means for a Game 2 performance.
Yeah, Keen needs to get the ball rolling very early on. Get ahead of this Jace so we can have that split pushing potential there for all the attention of Jin and then have the rest of the team wreak havoc and take objectives around him. We'll see if he can hit that point. We'll see if Septed is going to have a better time in that mid lane. Had some pretty nice shockwaves by the end of the game there in game number 1. But overall, Ever8, they need to step up to the plate if they're going to find a victory here, if they're going to take us to game number 3.
And Jin with their slim hopes of playoffs, want to win 2-0, throw the gauntlet to Afrika. Their spot in playoffs may be decided by the end of today.
All right, well, let's see what happens as we load up for game number 2. Ever8 looking to turn things around. Jin looking for the closeout to keep those playoffs hopes alive. Let's dive on to the Rift. Jin versus Ever8. Here we are. Their fans still holding in there. You know, every time I see that that little bumper, the intro that we have, I would love for OGN to just make one and then rotoscope over it and make it like an anime-style intro.
Can't disagree with you. We've had some cool anime-style intros in esports history. The famous StarCraft intro in 2007. There was one done in the early Champions days that wasn't my favorite, but did have that same flair there.
Caught off guard.
Caught some fans. Always good. Speaking of getting caught.
Well, that's going to be a Dark Binding coming down on the Malrong. And he will have to take the leap. Jumps out, keeps his flash, but certainly not the ability start that he would have liked.
Happy that he didn't give up his life and kept his flash up as well. May not stop the invades coming through, as now you can kind of factor in that his clear speed is going to be significantly slower. And if you get a super leash against a jungler that started jump, in the case of the Kha'Zix in particular, your clear speed is going to be lightning fast. And looks like we're going to get at least a good leash on the side of Jin.
Yep. It's going to be kicking things off here over at the Raptors.
Morgana did start binding, so her ability to start the leash with the puddle is not available. No tormented soil.
Won't be having that, but still, you know, I think it's worth it in the end to slow up Malrong just a little bit.
Is this our first Morgana of the OGN season? I feel like it's been a SPO TV exclusive champion.
It's definitely the first time that I've seen it. So,
there you go.
Or cast it, I should say.
We got a Morgana.
Yeah.
Add it to the list.
It's been a very long time.
Write that one down, Achilles.
All right. I already did. Morgana.
Nice.
Got it. I mean, I'm trying to think of the last time that I really saw Morgana in competitive play outside of the few games that we've had. And it was probably when top lane Morgana was a bit of a thing.
Trace was playing it in spring last year when Jin made it to the playoffs.
That is true.
He was always a top lane Morgana player, but he was messing around with it.
But as far as popularity goes, I feel like Season 4 was probably the last time.
Even then, it was a little bit out of meta. I remember the good old days of NY Jackie, again, names that haven't been in competitive play for a long time. But Season 3, a lot of Morgana mid before Erasures were taken down and just was a bit too burst-centric. Yeah, the support Morgana was a big thing for a while, of course. We get it again here. Gorilla's played it this season. One other player's played it now. We see Snowflower play it, and they did not take much magic damage, Achilles. So if you avoid the shockwave and you get the black shield, if you're Teddy, you're hopping happy.
Well, red buff going to be taken away here. Kuzan and so on are in the vicinity to go ahead and ensure that this gets picked up by Empty. So he'll just satch that up. Takes the blast cone for a ride over the Krug, so he's just getting a nice big counter invade here on that top side of the jungle. Malrong is going to push down. He can find Krugs of his own as well as the Raptors.
Potentially a nice angle bot lane, but he's not going to be there for this.
That's Eddie trying to jump away here. Takes a bit of damage from that satchel charge. The sun comes through in onto Snowflower. He's got that last second rend. Try to equalize a bit of the damage there onto Duel.
Snowflower was just level 2. Didn't have access to all Morgana's abilities. We mentioned Kha'Zix potentially visiting bot lane, and he's here now.
Is in the vicinity, but going for something like the dive be a bit too risky. As even Ella, he's not that tanky. Doesn't have the exhaust anymore.
Lane pressure around bot side is what you want with a Tristana, was something that Ever8 weren't able to get in game 1, as largely just in the 2v2, the turret help kept falling for the side of Duel and Ella. So already a better result, even if it was largely due to Umti having the alpha male positioning in the top side of the map.
Bit of damage down onto the turret there from Duel, getting the maximum damage off from the satchel charge, and also just helping to chunk down Teddy where possible. But seems like things might have stabilized a little bit here as the waves are just going to keep crashing in, and Teddy should have plenty of ways to confirm these minion kills coming through, what with the rend.
Bit of a risk for Duel to go Doran's Blade in this matchup. Doran's Shield is almost solely the reason we see so many engaged supports, given that no longer did harassed supports have basically a free laning phase to win. You can go Doran's Shield, and the proc every time you take damage negates all the plant damage you take from Zyra and other things. But going Doran's Blade against a Morgana, it is double-ranged auto attack. She does have a bit of harass, even if she's more about the hard engage. So it still is a risk, because Marang Fang's Umti.
Doesn't even want to try to go in for the fight, sees that So On is not in the top lane, so has a sneaking suspicion that he would be nearby. So good restraint there by Malrong. They're not trying to go aggressively in onto that Rek'Sai. Just go back to base, picks up an extra long sword.
It's definitely not the way he likes to play League of Legends. If you meet him in person, he's a very small human being, for sure. A very slight person, but young as well. But in-game, from the moment we saw him on this stage, has been one of our most aggressive players, and I think he's had to learn to play a lot more passively. Ella doesn't have as good options when he gets bound, because going with Headbutt Pulverized, the Black Shield will just answer it, and he'll still be able to get damage off, so won't even use the Headbutt.
Yeah, Duel is decently far away with the Mighty connected. Now Keen getting jumped on here. So On, the damage coming through is just immense. He'll flash in. He'll just finish him off right underneath the turret in the solo kill. So On, first blood.
Yeah, we commanded the Jace and the solo kill from a very high health bar. Everything hits from the side of So On, and even autos in after the flash. Very nice play coming through from the side of Jin Air.
That was clean.
Definitely a different side of the map to bot lane, where they've been struggling a lot more, and they may even go for the wraparound gank.
I mean, Keen, he does have the ultimatum ready to go. They will be looking for the dive in perhaps. TP coming through here as well from Kuzan. Ultimatum gets dropped in onto Umti, but he immediately exits. Void rush forward, just trying to finish off this Camille. Gets the pop-up shock blast coming down. Rocket will hit one more. Auto will finish him off. Has to get the flash in as Teddy goes dangerously low. Duel flashing in underneath the turret in the bottom lane. Comes up with the kill, but the Dark Binding is there in the end from Snowflower to go ahead and make it a 1-for-1.
He would have got a reset on his jump, but I think he didn't have enough mana to get out, so ends up just trading. Not ideal. They will be able to deny CS to the turret. Speaking of turrets, the teleport is down from Keen. He knows that Malrong is on the bot side of the map, so Jinna get a very fast first sprint.
Yeah, very nicely done here from the side of Jin Air, accelerating the game at a faster pace than we saw even remotely from them in game 1. Malrong playing with fire here. Does finish off that red buff. but he is still very far behind the wreck side.
We will focus on the action top side. This is a face check from Snowflower. You don't want to black shield yourself when you go into that brush, because then the headbutt pulverize will come onto your carry. Teddy falls so densely low, but have to imagine Duel didn't have the mana for the rocket jump, so just dies in the end. Awkward trade from Ever8, especially with how much Jin Air got on the top side of the map.
Not looking good here for Ever8. Wanted to see them, kind of hold firmly after those heroic defenses we saw from them at the end of game number 1, but it seems like it might have worn them out a little bit here. Always the chance that they try to turn things around, but 8 minutes in, already nearly 3,000 gold behind. They lose out on that first brick, and they're not really in a position to take any of these turrets, because even with the Tristana in the bottom lane, where we've seen turrets go down, in a matter of minutes, they haven't gotten that much in with the explosive charges.
And the silver lining that you're looking for as an Ever8 fan isn't quite there, because they did jungle around the lane they wanted to win. They got the Tristana, a bit of an advantage in bot lane, but not in terms of CS. The moment that they went for this top lane pick, the Camille, we mentioned that Camille needs help. Gonna get Malrung jungler around top, but she's behind in CS by a lot. 23 CS at 9 minutes is a massive lead for Sowan. The amount of time and babying that the Camille will need to get relevant in this game already represents more time than Ever8 might have.
Sowan able to apply so much pressure here, even just clipping with the damage on that to the skies.
They got double control ward in the enemy red side jungle at 9 minutes. Apparently there is no risk for him to play up to the inner turret. He might just kill him again.
I mean, he's looking for it. One more shock blast would have done the trick, as he will come over the wall. They'll just get some damage down onto this tier 2 turret. Gonna have quite a lot of it to offer up. All wrong will jump forward, trying to dissuade them with the void spikes, but they have another wave pushing through, so we'll see how long they want to stick in here, because Keen has to TP back. He now has to run into the lane.
And Malrung's Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix can do so little for a Camille, even in the best case now, and this is so far away from that they're just getting cheeky, and they might even die.
I mean, they're looking for it here. Yeah, one final auto attack going through onto Umti, but still very much in the fight. Not afraid of going down there.
Max range.
In. Get a little bit of damage in, but Teddy is taking a couple of those turret shots. A few more spears in with the Rend. Might have found a kill in onto Duel. Snowflower is having sniper precision with these Dark Bindings.
And Sowan has a very, very early Duskblade, so that's very frightening.
10-minute Duskblade. This is what Malrung wishes that he had, but, well, he hasn't even finished the jungle item yet.
Just going towards Krug. So she might be doing the team thing to try and put down a ward around the Rift Herald, but I don't know what she would have done even if they knew the exact timing of this Rift Herald coming through. They have so little power on the top side of the map that free objective upon free objective is available for the side of Jin Air, and you also get the preferential back for Teddy and Snowflower and bot lane. You want to know what winning on every part of the map looks like? This basically resembles that for Jin Air Greenwings.
Yep. Rough stuff. Kuzan as well, making some decent pace as far as that Trinity Force is concerned. Makes a little bit of a pit stop to pick up the Sork boots.
Kind of the thing about Jace is he's so far ahead, and the jungler provides so little from Ever8 that awkwardly Achilleos, he can freeze the lane, he can push it exactly when he wants, and he comes in and he's basically the Terminator with his Duskblade. He can kill people. He's the most threatening Jace teleport we've seen in the longest time. So the options here for Sowan are endless, really, about what he wants to do in this game. He pushes up a minion wave, and wherever he goes, he's a one-man army.
Yeah, this is oppressive as far as the Jace is concerned here. Sowan having quite the day out. Only just, 1-0-1, but that doesn't really represent how much power is backing him at the moment, because, I mean, Keen, forced to go for the Ninja Tabi first, just has the Phage. He is in such a great spot. And the Shock Blast.
Oh, dear.
Oh. The Shock Wave. Not going to connect, but it clears out the minions.
Right choice coming through from Sept. Did in game one. Needs to do it here as well to try to delay the game. It's already a delay game from Ever8. They already don't want this game to be accelerated any faster, but 5 members and the Rift Herald parked in mid lane.
Yep, that's going to be the turret going down for sure. And might even get a decent enough charge off onto that tier 2. Another Shock Blast connecting onto Septed in the back. You can see him dropping down to about a 3rd HP. Just Chugging up on those potions, trying to keep himself alive. Final charge coming through here.
I mean, Keen has to group just to stop a turret dive or 2 turrets going down, and she desperately, the Camille, wants to be in a side lane, picking up farm while this is all happening. When you make as big a rotation as Jin Air do, don't have any good options on the side of Ever8.
I mean, Malrong's wrapping down here towards the bottom side, but Teddy's still going to be in a decent spot. Morgana's on the way, so maybe they just try to cut off. Nope, seems like Malrong did get himself out of there.
Talk about the tank ARAM meta, but this is the carry ARAM meta being enacted by Jin Air, just trying to power down turrets before Orianna can really get any ability to react.
It's just...
I love watching
it's just dirty.
someone right now because I already caught him the Terminator. Now I just imagine him being like, send more bad guys. He's up there having the time of his life.
I remember in the Terminator movies where he killed people with a Duskblade of Drakthar.
I mean, you didn't watch Terminator 4.5?
I gave up.
My YouTube series?
I gave up after, I think, the 3rd one that came out.
Here's a question.
Yes.
Who would you cast as the Terminator today? If we made a new Terminator movie, you weren't trying necessarily to be an homage, but it had the same basic brief. Who would would it just be The Rock, like every other action movie?
Like, he would have the overall look decently well, I guess. But that's actually a really tough one.
It feels like we don't have the like silent badasses that we once did, you know?
Yeah.
I guess maybe like a Tom Hardy.
That's actually a good pick.
Is he too old?
No. I don't think... No, I think he could get away with it. That's actually a really good one that I wasn't considering in my head.
Do you just cast a wrestler? Brock Lesnar, for example?
No. I mean, if you were going to cast a wrestler, I guess you would have to go for...
I mean, The Rock is a wrestler, I guess.
Well, I was going to say Dave Bautista would maybe be one.
He's surprisingly charismatic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's actually pretty decent at acting compared to some of the other ones that have come out of wrestling.
That's fair.
He's also in the new Blade Runner movie.
Yes, you're right.
Which I do look forward to seeing, actually.
Well, Jin Air look forward to getting a 4th turret of the game as Ever8 really can't go wherever the Jace is.
No one can really go wherever the Jace is. Already saw how much damage he deals to Septon.
I think it's a bit weird that Riot made the Duskblade build path the Youmuu's build path. I mean, I guess, you know, the Zeal items build pretty similarly, but something about it is weird. Snowfall missed the binding on the Rift Scuttler. About the only bad thing that's happened for Jin Air this game.
Well, things have slowed down, but the gold has still been surging forward here for Jin Air. Just keeping that nice big lead at 16 minutes in. Ever8 going for a bit of an invade, but they're not going to find anybody. So just kind of wasting the time of 3 of their members.
Items in a good spot for the side of Jin Air, predictably. The ward line has been cleared out a little bit. They don't necessarily have the control of the enemy red side jungle they did for the majority of the game. They'd love Baron to spawn to have something to fight over, but no Baron on the map for another 4 minutes. This is kind of the awkward phase where it's hard to win more. You've kind of taken every free, easy objective. The win more part is harder. And you'll notice that Keen has been able to catch up in CS while So1 was rotating.
Yeah, has been able to bring it back a little bit, but still is a ways away from where he wants to be. But if you give him more alone time like that, then maybe we'll be seeing that Camille hit a nice point. And could actually be competitive. But likely going to be needing something like the Trinity Force before he can really try to go toe-to-toe against So1. In the meantime, Jin Air do have the way pushing forward in the bottom lane, but Teddy is not going to be that good at taking those structures down, so only gets a couple hits in.
Do love the double control wards in the area. Triple, actually, triangle of control wards. And the blue side as Snowflower gets far too much free damage. Almost shares it with Teddy. 4 control wards in one side of the map while they try to push up and take the inner turret in bot lane. Corki can cut so aggressively between mid lane and bot that he will be there to assist. And now just poking around Keen. Finding ways to try to increase the speed of the game, but as we mentioned, difficult to do when all the outer turrets were down so early in the game. It feels like they've been raining terror for a long time, but the game's been short.
Well, it's going to be Keen going forward here with the hook shot. TP immediately coming down from the side of Kuzan, but Malrong's wrapping around the back with the ultimatum coming through. Almost finds that 1v1
Interrupt
kill.
on the teleport as well.
So on, yeah. Interrupts that. Kuzan getting shockwave, goes low, has to kite back. So a nice little win here for Ever8 to come up with a kill.
Yeah, we mentioned that there was no longer the same jungle control on the red side jungle for Jin Air, and yet So1 was playing as if he had it. To his credit, didn't use any summoners, but good for Ever8 to actually identify there was a time for them to fight back after having been dictated to for the first 17 minutes.
Slight little reprieve here for Ever8, but what is going to be the next move? Will not be set up or have really the damage to try to take out that Baron initially as it's getting ready to spawn in a minute and a half.
Definitely don't have the same queries for Jin Air, although Umti not the most tanky as he has a Phage and a Tiamat. Pretty greedy to have that, but he's so far ahead with Cinderhulk and 2 damage items that he wants to be more of a pick champion than necessarily someone that can tank Baron. Baron's their fastest way to end the game, so there's at least something that Ever8 will be a little bit less respectful of a Baron take.
Infernal Drake might just be where we see our next fight. Going to be coming up in just a few minutes here. Second Drake of the game as the Mountain had gone over to the side of Jin Air initially. So on, force the flash into the pit, keeps himself alive.
They hadn't been moving, so Umti with the Tremor Sense wasn't able to spot. But they do get the flash out of So1, and maybe even more pressure relief from Keen, who is doing better than expected given all the early game problems he had. When you do take 2 turrets so quickly in a lane, there very often will be scenarios like this where the catch-up gold will be available with all the minion waves that So1 can't safely guide into the inhibitor turrets so early in the game.
Jin Air have definitely hit a bit of a wall as they look for an opportunity to keep pushing themselves forward here in this game. Just keep wrapping back and forth between the lanes. Finally do find a little bit of alone time here, or near alone time in the mid lane. As Kuzan will be able to chunk things out with that Trinity Force. Gets a couple good hits in, but is still unable to take it down.
And Jin Air at this point is kind of like a child actor that found too much success too young, because they've gotten to the point where the hard objectives really are difficult for them to pull off. Growing this lead is difficult, so some of this is just the nature of Summoner's Rift being so much harder, the bottleneck's so much more real when you're trying to push in, that they need this game to go a bit longer before they have things to actually force Ever8 to fight them.
Who would be your biggest choice for child actor that got too big too early?
Let's just keep on the Terminator train, the one from Terminator 2.
Okay.
John Connor.
I don't remember his name.
Exactly.
The actor's name.
Exactly. Isn't that the whole point? If you remembered his name, it wouldn't have fit the category, Achilles.
Very true. I was going to say, maybe almost, I don't know what he did past Home Alone, but maybe Macaulay Culkin a little bit.
He's popped up here, and then his brother obviously is doing quite well.
I mean, I know he was dating Mila Kunis for a very long time.
Look,
which is just bizarre to me.
This is the Papa and Achilles podcast, but will not be a damn TMZ podcast. Let's keep it clean.
Okay. Have you seen his band?
No.
He just has a band and they sing about pizza, playing instruments made out of pizza boxes.
Was it his brother or him that was in Scott Pilgrim? One of the Culkins was in that movie at the start. He was the roommate.
That would be his brother.
Okay. I wasn't 100%.
Yeah, that was not Macaulay Culkin.
Kieran
excellent,
Culkin, I believe.
Excellent movie.
Yes, agreed.
Love me some Edgar Wright. I still haven't seen Baby Driver. Hasn't come out in Korea yet. I'm very sad. Doesn't come out until the 11th, I think. Something around there. So quite sad. One of my favorite directors, and I can't watch his movie yet.
I would love to see Jeanette direct us to some action. Well, after 22 minutes, so now we can finally start wiggling our fingers at them and say start taking some of the bigger objectives. Speaking of, there's a Infernal Drake. Happy spawn for Jin Air.
Looking to take that one away. Black Shield a little bit too late to stop the slow, but going to be too much chase forward here onto the Morgana, it seems. As the Infernal does go over to Jin Air, so now have a decent amount of power to help bump them up as far as taking the Baron is concerned, but they still have been hesitant in their rotation, so
Hey,
they would definitely need some picks.
They can't argue. When you go for a Jace comp and you get Mountain Inferno as the first two spawns and another Mountain coming, they're definitely happy with the RNG that's been dealt to you.
Trust me, I'm perfectly happy as a spectator as well.
Youmuu's and the Drusk Blade complete for Jace. He's ready to do some killing.
Yep. And maybe that killing involves a Baron as well. Vision clear coming through here from the side of Jin Air, getting the Scuttle Crab as well. So maybe we'll see them go for this objective. For now, though, Teddy and Snowflower will be bringing up the top lane. They already got that tier 2 turret.
Once again, Ever8 not moving. Only now do they adjust.
Still not in a position to get the catch onto Empty, so he stays safe.
Jin Air have to overwhelm Baron with damage because they don't have the tankiness like we mentioned. They're more built for turn. They're more built for pick. They don't have enough control wards down in the enemy red side jungle to force those picks.
Clearing them out, but everybody is well, they're standing on one right now.
I feel like Kuzan should be going for a sweeper this game. He doesn't need the vision coverage. They have already control wards, map control, and a Rek'Sai. They know exactly where the three members are, so Ever8 are just basically buying time for extra items.
They kill it in the end. They threw down the control ward to try to bait them in, perhaps. Kuzan going to be starting up the red buff. There's plenty of members here from the side of Ever8 to try to control this one. I think the smite,
Mara.
yeah, did get it in the end.
Teddy on that skin has the red AoE to symbolize the connection with his support. That's a bit troll sometimes.
Thank you, Riot. That's all right. We just have to take a closer glance. But this is just going to be the buffs getting taken away. It seems like Keen might try to do something to stop this one.
Sounds pretty low on mana, so they want to watch how they play this scenario out.
All right, well, looks like they'll just give it to Septed in the end.
Remember that they are a team with no tank. Sure, Rek'Sai is decently tanky, but hasn't built tank. They don't really have the ability to teleport flank at all. So catches, which are so common in this meta, are much more hard for Jin Air to pull off. And we again get back to what we talked about before, where they kind of had a bigger lead than this, especially relative to where the game time was at 10, 15 minutes ago, but have been slowed down at taking harder objectives because of the way the map works. Jin Air need to play smart because for now, Ever8 are stabilizing even if they are comfortably behind.
Walking in, does get spotted. Septed flashes in to try to get the pick. Shockwave going to whiff as Umti will answer with his own flash, so 1 for 1 in that regard. He gets out safely. So one pushing forward into the bottom lane, pops at Youmuu's, but doesn't really have the wave to back him up to try to get in onto the turret. The Shock Blast only connects onto one minion.
Dodges enough damage and never quite sure how Camille can do in the 1v1, so I'm being relatively respectful of the fact that Keen is competitive even if behind. Jin Air keep pushing up minions in bot lane, in top lane. But the other part where Rek'Sai and Morgana invade and have sweepers in control, it's still just a warding totem for Kuzan. They start the Baron, but they don't have the tankiness to do this.
Nope, so they just stop immediately.
That might have been an auto attack mistake there onto one of the wards, because there was never going to be a Baron force there.
Okay, I see. They had wards stacked, so that was actually kind of confusing me. I saw the control ward and then saw the icon saying that there was no vision. I was like, well, how is that working out then? It's a bit perplexed, but Upti just going to jump over as Jin Air clears out the vision on this side of the wall. Perhaps they go right back over toward that Baron. Someone does have the TP in the bottom lane.
Vision getting a lot more appropriate, and they can go and push up the top lane, then return to Barons. Getting better from the side of Jin Air. One mistake, even a single pick, like Kuzan face checking that brush. All the wards return, all the control wards are swept. This advantage goes away, so see what Jin Air will do here.
Well, it seems like patience is going to be the answer. They're just going to wait in the brush for somebody to push forward, try to get a pick, and then rotate back over to the Baron while So-On just occupies the bottom lane. Oh, why say that? They surprised me yet again.
Kuzan going to be on information gathering duty. Baron down to 6,000. So far behind here, Ever8. Might have to be a last-second contest. Malrong walks up, 3,000 health now.
He's going at dangerously low. Teddy will have that rend. Can they get a miraculous steal? The answer is going to be no. Now Elo is in the front of the pit. Pops the ultimate to keep himself alive, but still has the flash with the shockwave. Clips in onto Zoan, finds the kill, and now they're looking for more because Jin Air is stuck into the pit. Even with the tactical speed plus, get a little bit of damage. Kuzan's forced away with the flash, but Malrong pursues over the wall with the leap, takes him down. Now ultimate down onto Teddy. Satchel charge there as well. The explosive charge rather will finish him off. And Jin Air have to scramble. It's Umti and Snowflower, the only two remaining members left alive, to try to carry out these Baron buffs. Dark Binding will connect in. And Snowflower tries to make it out of here with that Baron-empowered recall. Will he do it? Yes, he can. But Umti on the other side is still struggling. Void Spike's connecting in. Malrong looking for the kill. Does have that flash if he wants to go over the wall, but Umti maybe looking for the fight. Malrong just buying a little bit of time here for the rest of his squad to arrive, but doesn't even need it. Comes up with a solo kill, and it's only going to be one Baron buff going over to Jin Air.
I mean, Jin Air Greenwings didn't have a Baron confirm and turn comp. They could really only do one. That's why it was the killing fields for Ever8 on the back end. Feels reminiscent what we got in the late stages of game one. The objective is off the map. The gold is still there, but the gold lead is pretty slight by the standards of this series. 6,500 gold only. I mean, that's where Keen's going to be able to take this top lane out of turret as well if he wants to stay. He will not as Jace comes up, but it's pretty small.
I mean, the gold, this is where it was at 15 minutes. So it hasn't really been growing. I mean, Jin Air, they pull the trigger on it toward they get the Baron, but they suffer so heavily for this.
So one has all the gold, has to flash away from the first command attack. The second one catches him, playing with fire too much, and I guess you have to say the same is the story of Jin Air in general. They don't have control wards in this area, so they're actually losing out on auto attacks as they weave in and out. Feeling they can commit to a fight. Kuzan poking around the backside. If they could see every member for an entire time, they had a lot of damage to try to turn on them. But the moment that Jace went down for free and they didn't have that vision, Jin Air were actually up against it.
So Ever8, and again, winning a fight, keeping themselves in this game as much as possible, but Snowflower not going down. Doesn't mean that they have these Baron-empowered minions to try to push in to finish off some of these structures. Just those two, or the one outer turret rather, still remaining in the bot lane. But for now, we'll be pushing up into the mid side of the map.
Look at the side waves in order. Complete this plays so much better. Sideways in order. Malrong looking for assassination.
Just pokes out, but has to go ahead and eject himself from the potential fight. Too many members of Jin Air in the vicinity.
Biggest surprise this game. Remember that there was no-go zones for Ever8 for the majority. We saw Keen grouped up with his mid laner watching his turrets went down around him. Is that there's actually equal levels in every lane between the sides of Jin Air and Ever8. The fact that they were able to get the experience that should have been denied from a lot of the play here lets you know that Jin Air found it hard to grow a lead that was so big so early. The end result has been that in most ways Ever8 are within the realms of possibility when it comes to taking down Jin Air. Again, somehow, we're getting the aftershocks of MVP, being able to do that in game 2 of that series. Back away here, still a lot of gold on Teddy, still some great options for Jin Air, but they don't force well Achilles, they don't really have initiation.
Kuzan gonna get jumped on, take so much damage while isolated. Malrong might just have the solo kill. Kuzan does fire back a little bit, almost takes him low enough for the kill, but does go down in the end. Except that it was nearby, but doesn't get the assist. And that is going to be a nice major pick coming through here for the side of Ever8, who can now knock down that outer turret in bot.
And the moment a member goes down like that, any aggressive move from Jin Air will be tempered aggression. It will mean that Ever8 can take turrets in the bot side. It means they'll get free farm in the top side. This is where the gold lead will once again start to creep away from the side of Jin Air. And while both teams are very low on true tankiness, remember that Ever8 has Orianna, has great ball carriers with the Alistair and also the guaranteed ball carrier, at least onto one member of the Hextech Ultimatum. So while there is overlap in identity, the reliability of Ever8 is higher in a true 5v5. At the end of the day, Jin Air want to 5v5, but they don't have a comp that allows them to force anything, and thus we enter this sort of territory where Jin Air will wonder how it could be, given how big their early gold lead was.
Things starting to feel A bit like game 1 here for Ever8, still fighting an uphill battle, but they're keeping it very close in these exchanges. But this time around, the inhibitors haven't fallen yet, so it's a much better time for them to start turning the game on its head.
Gotta say, not convinced by Jinair's double AD comps, which they're running a lot. This, I guess, is a triple AD comp, but while Kuzan on the Corki has been fine, the decision-making around winning games with double AD has been letting them down compared to some of the LeBlanc comps we were mentioning and some of the other comps that Jinair have run in summer.
Yep. And this, yet again begs the question that if Jinair somehow do make it to playoffs, if Afrika Freaks lose both of their games, their second one going to be against Jinair, will they be able to perform in the wildcard match against SK Telecom? Because right now, the answer seems like no, even with SKT's recent struggles.
You want to be optimistic and say yes, because they beat SK Telecom, right? But very different patch on 7.13 to 7.14. Very different SKT with their improved performance recently. And even if they somehow shocked SKT, which would be a story in itself, could they win a best-of-5 against Samsung, KG Rolster, or Longzhu? The easy answer is no. So it would require certainly a big upward trajectory or a difference in style from what they're playing recently for Jinair to actually make a dent on playoffs. But top 5 for a team that was in the relegation tournament would be a godsend. That would really be a big reward. The Korean Air organization that, of course, is the granddaddy of Jinair and thus sponsors the Jinair Greenwings would be very happy with it on a simple level. It's just about Jinair's struggle. Likely to win this series still, up against it to make it to the playoffs. But if you're asking me, can they be a contender? I think the clear answer is no.
Well, they're trying to be a contender in this game. Trying to take us to game number 3 and spare us from, something like an hour-long break in between our second set.
I mean, up for it. Honestly, Ever8 played surprisingly well in the late game of game 1. In this game, they do have great options. I'm happy for a game 3 to occur. Jinair right now, they're gank brushing from ahead, which lets you know they really don't know how to win Achilles. If you're 7,000 gold ahead and gank brushing, that's bad.
Yeah. Well, Mountain Dragon gets started up for a second there, but both junglers just going to be passing each other like ships in the night. Not going to be engaging. No one's going to be engaging onto the Baron either, so it's just going to be slow and steady as we continue this snail-like pace. As I say that, Snowflower takes quite a bit of damage from Duel.
I mean, Duel's getting free items. He's close to a Bloodthirster, it looks like, as a 4th item to shake off any of the poke coming through from the Jace. Ever8 also have enough map pressure. Insane to think at 35 minutes they can actually take the second Mountain Drake. This could have been 3 as not finding hits.
Connects in on the Duel, but he gets a leap off in time. So keeps himself alive and ready for the fight.
As Vamp Scepter, so can just wait for the minion wave to be pushed in, and we'll be able to contest onto a play around the Baron. Play here for Jinair that we're not seeing is for Umti to lead the charge with a Black Shield. And they should be able to put down wards. They're going to skip that step.
Starting this one up, and Keen's TPing in from the bottom lane. They would have to confirm yet again from Teddy on that Callista. Now flashed away, not going to be finding anything with that Pulverizes Ella. Nor the slow from the Righteous Glory. Big Shock Blast connects into the backside, taking Jewel and Septon down to about half HP each. Do they go back in for the Baron is going to be the question. However, it looks like the answer is going to be yes. Malrong stealthing his way in from behind, looking for an opportunity in. Except that it takes another Shock Blast in the face. Dark Binding not going to connect, and the Baron will reset a second time.
This sort of play is correct for Jinair because they are winning the poke battle, Achilles, but trying to force would definitely be the wrong decision. So this is a very polarizing moment here. Control ward once again on the Baron. Kuzan poking. Look at that damage.
Takes so much damage. Kuzan just firing away with the Shock Blast offered up as well from
Joe can just auto-attack the Rift Scuttler.
Accepted. He's got to answer the wave in the top lane. He's not going to be here for the fight. Should one break out, that will be the Baron going over to Jinair, and it seems like this time all 5 members can exit with a buff, so they finally win out that war of attrition. They come up with a victory. Umti, he's checking Malrong, who's very far forward, but Kuzan is here. Blast Cone taking Umti out to safety. Can they follow up with a kill? He flashes away from the leap, will keep himself alive, will keep that Baron buff.
And Malrong gets very aggressive. Interesting to see Septon back away there. Sure, massive minion wave, but you saw a team fight there that Ever8 could win. In the end, they accepted that with all the poke, it was not the right move. If you do lose Baron to Jinair, it's much easier for them to close the game. It's much easier for them to break the base with the insane poke and siege they have. Baron buff should be the way that actually gets them into the base. Interesting passage of play. Ever8 in general. Wave the white flag, give up the Baron, and now it's on Jin to break the base in this Baron buff power play.
All right, so still, we have not distanced ourselves from the game one, pace of the game. Jin get a couple more Baron buffs this time around, able to retain all of them as opposed to just Snowflower having one. We'll see how much they can get done with this.
They have to be so respectful of the Shockwave. This is a big Orianna, 2-0-0, 20 CS lead on a Corki. And magic resist, there's a Locket, there's a little bit of magic resist elsewise, but the Void Staff is already complete on the side of Sceptid. So the moment you start grouping up, trying to take down those inhibitor turrets, the Shockwave can answer very swiftly.
See, though, right now, Jin kind of struggling to figure out what lane they can push in. Moving their way all the way up from the bottom now into the top. Still a decent amount of wave clear here from Duel. Big crit goes through onto Kuzan. Umpty is just sitting underground, looking for that Tremor Sense to try to spot out as many members around the rest of his squad as he possibly can to keep them safe.
131 is the correct identity here on the side of Jin, specifically Jace in the bot side with teleport. There is no teleport on Keen, and Jace has an embarrassment of riches in terms of items, so it's the way they want to play. No one knows that Marong's in the area, but Marong, while being formidable, is not as strong as Jace.
Duel could be getting jumped on here, almost goes down, will be chased forward here. Teddy just going ham right in underneath the turret, will come up with the kill and keeps himself alive. Now looking for Ella, finds the double kill. Teddy just pressing the go button, dives straight in. That could just lead to the end of the game now. Sceptid needs a monstrous shockwave if he's gonna stop this push. Dark Blast connects, doesn't take too much damage, but the turrets under fire are just falling so very swiftly. Dark blinding in on the Malrong, he goes low. Keen dashing forward, tanking up in the front lines. We'll take a little bit of damage here from Kuzan as a response.
Aim explodes into
one
life.
more Nexus turret.
Yeah, right. The minion waves are crashing. They're turning
Getting jumped on. Shockwave comes through his head. He goes low, but he still keeps himself alive. Just able to kite back. Nexus now exposed. Should be going down. And off the backside of Teddy saying go in, Jin will finally be able to finish off that game. 40 minutes in. They come up with a victory.
Teddy was the star of spring season when Jin didn't get many match wins. He's had much more of a backup this season. But in the end, when the game needed to be won, he decided that even as Kalista, he was going to initiate, he was going to end the game. We could have been in for another 10 to 15 minutes for Jin to find a way to break the base. They had such a big lead, 8 to 10 minutes in. The game started to fall away from them. Teddy straps on, he starts off the fight, he goes for the turret dive, and from there, Jin win in one passage of play.
It all ended in the blink of an eye. Jin finally able to close that one out. They keep their hopes of making it into the playoffs alive with this victory, but now they have to rely on their future enemies that we will be seeing in our next game. Afrika Freaks need to suffer a loss against MVP if Jin is going to be able to make it into the playoffs. We'll go ahead and get a replay of this because we didn't have time and the game just ended so quickly after.
Yeah, the Rend was already down, so you might think the action was over, but with Duel's low health bar, it takes a long time to actually clear him up, but the CC keeps him involved, and then the Alistair is turned on as well. But Teddy sees the damage, knows the teleport's available. Jace didn't have an interrupt near him, as Camille could not be near the Jace with no teleport herself. And the game ends in one passage. But when we do see the Jin players face Achilles, it is going to be so different to what they would have expected when they went into that series against MVP last week. If they had won that series as predicted, they would have come in and they would have been a match ahead. They would have actually been the same match score as Afrika, and then it's a clean option. Whatever Afrika's result, beat Afrika Freaks later this week and qualify for the playoffs. That's not the way it is. They need Afrika to lose today against MVP. That's certainly a lot to ask for, but not out of the realms of possibility, given MVP's recent improvement.
Well, 2-0 victory for Jin, but it was certainly one they had to struggle through. 6th place against current 10th, and it seems like they're going to be staying that way here with this loss. Ever8 winners already locked into the promotion tournament. Later on, after the Worlds qualifiers, after the grand final, will have to try to retain their spot in LCK, and unfortunately they do not have a win at the moment to kind of ride a wave of momentum off of into that series. But topping the charts, it's going to be Kuzan there with the Corki. Very closely behind is Teddy, who just had that monstrous Callista at the end.
I believe Ever8 are not mathematically ruled out of finishing 9th. Again, 9th is still the relegation tournament. So on, after his early laning phase, just like a bit of the laning phase award in Game 1, will go to the side of So1. Solo kill on the top side was really allowed Jin Air to get the pressure. And just like Game 1, they had it till it started to fall away. It felt like the sand was going through their fingers. They were able to recreate. This was really clean from So1, who has been a great carry player in the summer season. Less clean in the next moves, but there was only one strategy from Jin Air. Camp the Jace lane, get the Jace ahead. And when we had a Kha'Zix jungle who already is not the best to camp, had to choose between helping a Camille who was hopelessly behind or visiting the Tristana, couldn't get the Tristana far enough ahead, and the end result was that an inner turret fell so early in the game.
Yeah. Just able to take that one down. I mean, things slowed down very much after that, but here we have one of those fights that ended up transitioning into that Baron at the end. Shock Blast just rips right through them.
He was so far ahead in terms of serrated Dirk items. They were completed so early in the piece. The Baron decisions here were very interesting. After Scepter got poked that time, felt that the Orianna couldn't commit to the fight. The Baron went over. Teddy initiated. From there, this was the passage of play that would end the game for Jin Air Greenwings.
Well, nicely done by Jin Air. Definitely a lot to talk about as far as the VOD review is concerned, though. But, well, they have some time to worry about that and then get prepped for the Afrika Freaks. But for now, we will have our MVP interview. Let's go ahead, throw it over to Joel and hear from Snowflower and so on.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joel with your interview translations for today, and we are here with Jin Air Greenwings. We pick up a 2-0 victory. Not might be the cleanest one they've had in the season, but they are still the winners in the end. And now we are here with the MVPs for today, Snowflower and so on, for the interview. Congratulations on the win, guys. How do you feel?
일단 저희가 MVP전을 지게 되면서 이제 자력 진출은 불가능하게 되었는데
Yeah, after losing the game to MVP, we kind of lost our hopes for the playoffs, but I think we were really just trying to do our best to get the best result possible by the end of the season.
예, 포커싱이 가 있습니다. 아 그리고 소환 선수도 이제 7월 중간부터 계속해서 연달아 출전하고 계시잖아요.
And so on, it just seems that ever since that some time, you've been really starting in that top lane more often than not.
서로 잘 맞는 것 같아요. 도움되는 쪽으로.
Yeah, I think right now it's the current meta is fitting me really well, and it's really forming a good chemistry with my teammates.
오늘 경기 운영이 굉장히 깔끔했어요.
We thought the first game with Game 1 was a rather clean finish by you guys, and we thought that it would be a very easy win for you guys in the series, but
일단 저희가
what happened after that?
싸움을 안 하고 운영 쪽으로 가면은 이길 수 있다고 확실히
Yeah, I thought
들었는데
in Game 1 we thought that we were going to get the clean win as well, but when we started working on our macros, I think our weaknesses really showed, and we really didn't know how to finish as nicely as we would.
네, 맞습니다.
일단은 저희가 1경기 하이라이트를 보면서 함께
We want to look at some of the highlights from Game 1.
아이고 소환 선수도 좀 당황하셨을 것 같아요. 왔는데
I'm sure So-on would have been very surprised, startled here by how this happened.
한대 치면 게임도 이제
Yeah, all we had to really was destroy the turret and get that win the team fight. We probably would have finished the game, but that was really a surprise play for us.
어떻게 생각하십니까? 이거 좀 방어적으로 갔으면 더 안정감 있지 않았을까요?
Wouldn't it be nicer if you guys went defensive instead of going so aggressively?
네, 그럼 저희가 좋으니까
Yeah, but I think going too defensive was not the best option, so you needed to get more advantages to get the victory.
사실 1세트 그 결정적인 장면은 바텀에서 나왔거든요. 그렇죠.
But I think the most decisive moment, I think we're going to see in the highlight, is at the bot lane.
상대가 갑자기 달려들었는데
And what did it feel like? They went pretty aggressively at you guys at the bot lane.
갑자기 왜 들어오지 이렇게
I had no idea what they were trusting, to come so aggressively at us. We had the advantage definitely going our way, so it was definitely their fault for going in so aggressively, and we just get the right counter attack on that one.
사실 뭐 초반은 쉽게 풀어가는 됐습니다만 좀 다소 힘겨운 그런 승리를 하셨는데 그래서
It
그런지
just seems like Jin Air had a really good early game, but didn't really finish it out in the best of manners.
한상용의 분노 뭐 그 연기 장면인데
I think this is where the coaches come in, not really satisfied, even with the win.
눈빛이 저에게 가 있거든요.
예, 눈꽃 선수가 막 웃고 있었잖아요. 원래.
Yeah, Snowflower, you were smiling there in that instance.
그러더라고요. 어떻게 무슨 얘기를 좀 하신
What was the communication between that?
라칸을 소리치면서 오셨습니다.
Yeah, he was just screaming Rakan, and he walked into the booth, so you probably can tell what that was all about.
왜 들어갔냐고. 이거 타워부터 부시면 쉬운데 왜 그랬냐고.
So he was complaining why I didn't go for the turrets and try to always go for the kills. So, but perhaps he was right though.
예. 아무튼 1세트 그렇게 피드백을 했는데 2세트에서 또 소환의 제이스. 기가 막혔습니다.
But after game 1 was a rather unclean finish, but he came up with the Jace, and it was a spectacular performance on that champion.
편한 것 같아요.
Yeah, I think Jace is definitely one of my comfort picks for sure.
뭐 마오카이가 나왔을 때 이제 제이스 상대로 좀 잘 버티기도 하고 나중에 갱킹.
And I'm sure, you know, if you're going up against a Maokai, it's relatively easy to go against that, but what do you think of that matchup?
그럼 정글과 같이 그냥 탑을 부숴버리면 될 것 같습니다.
I think it's always trying to get the jungler onto your side and really get the top turret as fast as you can.
초반에 그 제이스가 상대를 쏠피내는 장면인데 저희가.
And this is one of those situations where he gets a solo kill right here.
때리는 순간 이미 뭐 감이 왔죠.
As soon as you got the first few hits, did you know that solo kill was coming?
그냥 강 나와서 그냥 땄어요.
Yeah, I was just constantly hitting it, and by the time it got low enough health, I knew that I could flash in and get the kill.
또 한 번 더 바로.
You guys got a continuation kill right after this play.
했을 거예요 아마 옆에서.
맞아요.
Yeah, I think we were pretty excited to get that kill as soon as Camille teleported back in.
쳤어야 되는데 내가. 네. 구경만 하다 가는구나.
그러니까 좀 그런 것 같아요. 지네어가 1세트도 그렇고 2세트도 그렇고 확실히 뭐 기본기라든가 운영적인 측면에서 훨씬 더 날카롭고
And it just seemed like Jin Air was basically on the edge, basically an edge above Ever8 in terms of macro in the early game.
중반 운영이 좀 애매해진 것 같아요.
Yeah, I think during the mid game our macro plays were really indecisive and we weren't really sure on what we were supposed to do, and I think we weren't very much in agreement with our teammates on what we were trying to do to carry that game through the late game.
네, 일단 저희가 시야를 먹고 그거를 너무 활용을 못 해가지고.
Yeah, we were actually counting on our visions, but we didn't use that vision advantage that we had to the most of our advantages, and I think that was kind of the big problems that led to the late game.
뭐 대책은 들어가서 숙소에서 또 세우는 걸로.
모르가나 서포 좋았어요.
모르가나 서포 좋았죠.
But Morgana's support was good.
잠깐 뭐 설명해 주시면.
Do you want to explain the pick and why you came up with that?
이것도 고릴라 형이 먼저 썼는데.
Yeah, it was definitely a gorilla specialty, and
라칸 상대로 그때 썼거든요.
he used it against Rakan before.
그 북미 쪽에서는 알리스타 상대로 많이.
But back in NA, we actually saw it being used against Alistar in a couple of occasions. So I thought it might be a good counter pick to go against that. So tried my hand on it today.
맞습니다.
자, 그래서 오늘 진에어가 승리하면서 희망의 끈을 이어가게 됐는데.
So with the Jin Air getting another win, you guys still have your hopes alive.
아프리카라도 잡아줘야.
And I'm sure you're counting on now the other teams to get you guys the point advantage that you guys should have indirectly.
네, 지금 저희가 자력 진출은 이제 불가능해졌지만.
Yeah, well, of course, getting to the playoffs is now an impossible feat now, but I think we're needing a lot more support from you guys so we don't get down any further from where we are right now. So even if we lose, we're going to still always try our best efforts for the rest of the season. And that's the end of the interview. Back to you guys.
Well, thank you very much, Joel, for the translation as always. Rest of the season, not a whole lot left of that for the side of Jin Air. Just have that final game as they get ready to square off against the Afrika Freaks, and it could be the deciding factor as to which team is going to be going into the playoffs in 5th place.
Yeah, it could be a dead rubber as well. We'll look at the rankings and explain the scenario to you guys, but Jin Air did the minimum. They got the 2-0 over Ever8 winners. They keep their chances alive, but they may be squashed by the Afrika Freaks as soon as our next series, which will be starting a little bit later, of course, with the 2-0 win. So looking at the standings, Jin Air are now 8-9. They can reach the 9-match win score of the Afrika Freaks and match them as long as Afrika lose the 2 series they have in hand. The next one against MVP and also against Jin Air themselves, played on Saturday. That part is already unlikely. The game score could be a factor as well. If they have the same game score, there will be a best-of-1 tiebreaker. They had one of those in spring season, but that was just for seeding for the wildcard match. A best-of-1 to decide who goes to the playoffs and who finishes 6th would be epic.
Yes, it would. See if that's going to happen here because MVP needs to come up with a victory against the Afrika Freaks if Jin Air is going to stay in playoff contention. So they might be happy for the moment because they got the win over Ever8, but they still could be feeling quite saddened by the end of the night should Afrika be able to walk away with that victory.
And MVP do come in with 3 match wins. So the MVP of a month ago, not going to happen. The MVP of today.
We hope.
True. The MVP of today, anything can happen. Afrika Freaks can just put the destiny in their own hands, which is all Jin Air would have wanted. They squandered that, and now they have to watch on and cheer on MVP.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. We're going to go to about a 45-minute break, guys, and we'll come back with the next series, always having that locked-in start time. So we'll see you then. Don't go away.